one of the biggest things that I think, especially because we work with a lot of women, is to learn is to tap into the flow of the way things want to go and let go of wanting to hold everything together all the time.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm McKenna Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I feel like I haven't been on here in ages.
Yeah, it's been a while now that we're doing every other week instead of every week. It stretches out. Yeah. Today we have a topic for you that is very relevant for me in general, and also right now with being a new mom. It came up, and we thought we would, instead of Gigi just teaching me what to do privately, we would put it on the air. So that'll be fun. And the topic is control. So first of all, what do we mean by control? I think, Gigi, this is something we see a lot, not just with me, but with women that we work with. And I think just like successful, high-powered women often, right? Is that what makes them successful can also kind of, on the other side, become too controlling or too structured or I think controlling is probably the word, because they're not necessarily always structured people, right?
Yeah. Like you said, I think it's something you use to get ahead and is needed. And even though, like you said, some people aren't that structured, but they have to be maybe in their business and their work. And so it becomes this, if you're spending all day acting like that, then when you leave and you go home, it's really hard to turn off. And especially if you've seen yourself be effective and it gets results, but often we don't see that those results in our home life is a very, very different thing, right? People aren't going to respond the same way they do in a business situation. But that's not just what this is about. We're talking about control all over the place, right?
Yeah, because like for me, even though I'm really focused on motherhood right now, I am finding it coming up very strongly. And we were talking about that before we got on today, that I think something about the lack of sleep and just being a little less, regulated because there's so much more going on in a way. It's like something about that state makes me go and want to control even more, to kind of like hold it all together. And and I'm just finding that there's limits to that. I can't control everything, nor do I really want to, but it's like it's a habit or a pattern, probably learned from the earlier stages when I was really super career business focused, and didn't have a family, but it's carried over here. And I think we see it in all kinds of women. So
and the issue with it is it doesn't allow you to ever really relax, because you're always kind of, it's, what we call in business micromanaging, right? Instead of letting things flow. So we could go a lot of different directions, because in business, I see this too. So like I'm saying, even if women are doing it, it's made them effective. In the long run, it doesn't work in the long run. Yeah. People don't like to be controlled.
Yeah. And you might not be, if you're listening to this, you might not identify with the word control, but you might identify with perfectionism or trying to hold it all together. Like you said, Gigi, before we got on, not wanting to drop any balls, right? And then can you talk a little bit about how this starts there, which seems innocent enough, but then it extends out to almost like controlling other people?
Yeah. So again, if you want things to be perfect, or you want to have everything working, and then again, if we do certain things and then it's effective, it gets results, then we're going to go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to use this everywhere, right? And so it becomes a habit, which feels like it's like you said, holding everything together, or you're making sure that the balls aren't dropping. But the truth is it starts to create resistance in you, but also in your partnerships or in business. The same thing with people, as people start resisting, and maybe they resist quietly. But they, in that there's also a pushback that starts to happen. So, and then what happens is funny is then we even get more like perfectionism, right?
Mm.
This is funny to bring this topic up right now because I've been watching my grandkids for the last week, which has been a blessing and fun and challenging, and I noticed that when I would get tired and a little bit over, my nervous system was over, dysregulated, then I would want to stop this, stop that, stop that. I would start being overly controlling, to try to put order in because I wasn't regulated. It wasn't just that they weren't regulated. I wasn't regulated. And so I had to step back and go, okay, how do I set myself up something where I feel regulated each day as well?
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
were telling me about your coffee ritual. Can you share a little
Yeah,
bit about that?
everybody knows my little coffee. So I was here. They have this gorgeous view of the Golden Gate Bridge and San Francisco and the water and everything. And there's nothing sitting in front of that window. And that's why I moved the furniture. I moved the furniture and the sofa to be in front of the window because I love sitting in the morning, having my cappuccino, and then sitting and just, staring out a window or whatever. And so I put it there. And then I, every morning in the last 3 mornings, would get up, and that's what I do. I would sit there and I just look out the window. The view is beautiful. And then the kids would do it with me. We watched the sunset one day. And so it became this spot for me that I carved out. And then they had to come into my energy instead of me going out to them all the time, which really worked.
Yeah, it's so interesting because so many of these things are like lessons that I really learned in business and you really taught me over the years. And I feel like I learned them, I integrated them, I shifted the way that I approached my life and my work. And now being a mom, I'm having to relearn them over again. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just like reflecting on like, because what comes up in me when you share these things is like, oh, well, there's not enough time to get everything done. Or if I don't hold it all together, it's all going to fall. Those old thought processes that I know aren't true because I've experienced the alternative, right? I've had those thoughts before when I was a busy, just focused on, kind of career and partnership. And then I really shifted things. You guided me, you mentored me, and I started to approach things differently. And it's just interesting to sit here and self-reflect and go, oh, okay, all those same thoughts are coming up now. And I feel even more justified in them because I have a child. Yeah. But I know on some level, it's not true. It's an energy you get into. It's a mode that you get into. And like you're saying, one thing is it's slowing down internally almost. It's taking those little moments and carving them out. I'm like, oh my gosh, sitting with my cup of coffee, right? But I'm constantly multitasking. I'm like drinking my cup of coffee while doing something, while nursing Sienna, while, and instead to just take those moments, like you're saying, even if it's just 5 minutes, to slow down or to like actually sit down and eat my food instead of standing by the kitchen counter and eating.
So so much of my work has been around ritual and rhythm, right? And those little rituals, they go out the window. And then again, you're at a new phase in life and you think, oh, those aren't so important. But they're so, so important. You said that when you're feeding Sienna, you're doing all kinds of things. But the truth is, if you sat there and just fed Sienna for 15, 20 minutes and didn't do anything else, didn't look at your phone, you would calm down completely. She would calm down. She would feel your energy, and that presence and attentiveness would really increase your energy and your ability to do what you need to do during the day.
Which I've experienced before. Again, I've learned this through experience. So I can tell you guys listening who don't believe this, that it is true. And it's hard when you're in the middle of it. You're like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Or it might even make sense, but you're just like, I don't know. There's so much to do. But you were telling a story, Gigi, about the laundry, which was a great, also applicable one to where I am right now. So do you want to share about that?
Yeah, it's so funny. So here's the same thing. These kids are 9 and 5, so they have a lot of stuff, a lot of schools, a lot of things going on. And so there's laundry every day, right? So much laundry. And so I kept on thinking, I should do laundry, I should do laundry. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to do laundry. I'll wait until Saturday. I'll go and then I'll do laundry. I'll get it started. And I did that. It was so simple. There was no pressure. And that was a simple little system where I see a lot of times moms are trying to keep up with the laundry all day, all week, right? And the truth is, it was super easeful to do the laundry on Saturday. We could throw it in, we could go out, we went to the park, we did all kinds of things, come back. So it worked within my schedule because we didn't have the tight school schedule. And just something like that's going more with the flow of the energy of what's happening instead of in my mind what I think should be happening.
Yeah, I tried to do something similar and then I've kind of forgotten about it. I get started again. I need to do laundry a lot more than once a week at this point, just with a small baby. You go through a lot of stuff. But I had started at one point to do kind of like every other day, so every other day, instead of just trying to keep it up constantly, I would, put a load in and hang it up and whatever that was. So, or sometimes I can stretch it to 3 days, right? So even just that little bit, like you're saying, instead of running around just constantly doing. Creating a simple, like you said, rituals are more like the coffee, and rhythm is what's that rhythm of the way you're approaching your days, right?
Yeah, and to get yourself calmed down. For me, this is what I know, because this is what I do in my work. If I sit with myself and I get connected to myself and I have a little bit of time for that, then when I work with people, I'm present, I'm there, and I go into it with my energy instead of taking on their energy. And I was here with the kids and I was like, why don't I, because that's the way I raise my kids too. Why wouldn't I just do that with the kids, And like I said, when I did that, then they came into my energy. Then it wasn't this trying to run around and make sure everything was handled for them. Now, of course, we did a lot of that still. But in that, it's little tweaks like that made a big, big difference. Yeah. And I think the other piece that is the acceptance of learning that you're navigating a next stage. And again, your life has an added complexity to it now because you have another person in your life, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest things that I think, especially because we work with a lot of women, is to tap into the flow of the way things want to go and let go of wanting to hold everything together all the time. Mm-hmm. So we talked about like when you wake up at night. You want to share that?
Yeah. So I often wake up, super early with the baby, and it just depends. Like sometimes I wake up at 6 something, which is our normal time, but sometimes I'm up nursing Sienna at 4:30 and then I can't go back to sleep. And I start running around the house doing everything that needs to be done, or working early, and just like, how much time can I maximize to get things done before, she wakes up for the day or what have you. So tell me what you would tell me about that.
And I was just saying, we talked about spending that quality time first sitting with Sienna. And then the other thing is to really go with the flow, because a lot of times when people wake up like that, they're frustrated or they have resistance or they try to go back to sleep. And I think we talked about this on another podcast. I learned a long time ago that when I wake up like that, not to resist, maybe get up, read a nice book. You could even do that while you're feeding Sienna at some points, Mm-hmm. And so you start to go with what's happening instead of being frustrated and trying to fit things into, like you said, wanting to get up and get all these things done first.
Yeah. I think I really have learned the one from you over the years of not resisting. So the frustration doesn't happen for me. It probably does for some people listening. Like you wake up in the middle of the night and you're just like stressed that you can't go back to sleep. But now I pretty much have that one down. Like, I'm like, all right, I just go with it. I think where I get to continue to refine is, like you said, not just jumping into a million different things, like taking a few minutes to relax and not to scroll on my phone or something, you know, to really drink a coffee or read a book or listen to some music in the bath or whatever it is if she's not awake yet. Yeah, definitely.
And then really to prioritize, you know, what's important, because you're not going to be able, you can't handle all the things you were handling before, you know?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, I had a moment when I was visiting you just last week or the week before where it's just like the way that I've operated up to now, I can't really operate anymore because there's just too many channels at once. And we were I think packing to go home. So I'm navigating, okay, feeding Sienna, I was, you know, pumping, I was trying to think about getting everything packed for our trip, getting us to the airport, just all the different pieces. And in the past, I could do that sequentially in my brain. I'd be like, okay, here's all the things that need to happen. This is going to happen, then that, then that, then that. And I had this moment where I was just like, between the loss of sleep and the complexity of how much is going on, I cannot hold all of this in my brain. Yeah. And I just had to let it go. And I just had to be like, okay, I just get to do one thing and then do the next thing and then do the next thing and not worry about sort of almost micromanaging every moment. But I've done that in the past because I'm like worried I'm not going to get things done in time, or, you know, something's going to fall through the cracks. But it was just like, okay, there's literally no way. So it was actually the moment that sparked the idea for this episode in the first place, where I was just like, oh, it was an interesting aha. Like, I can't hold it all together. It's just not possible at this stage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when you start to let go and go with the flow, again, things work differently. You know, it's almost that thing we talk about all the time with the allowing, and, you know, just allowing things to happen, and things are going to fall through the cracks, and you're going to have to be okay with that. If there are things that really are important, need to be prioritized, then that's what you have to really make your list about. And how do those get handled? And how do you support, you and your partner support each other in that? And I think to know what you both want to do. And of course you help no matter what. If you're in a situation and it's trying to get to the airport, you're late, whatever, then everybody has to pitch in, right? So there's an attitude of cooperation, but it's also great to know, what do you love to manage? And maybe what does he love to manage? And how can you guys work together in a teamwork, you know, doing what you want to do? That way it doesn't become about you managing him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something we were talking about with you when we were there. And so I wrote down, you know, I think you encouraged me to do this. I wrote down everything I sort of manage and everything he manages, because we've done this to some degree before in the household with, you know, who takes on what areas. But I just took another look at it and I went, are there things that I am managing that I can't, or I don't want to, you know, what do we need to have another conversation about this to shift priorities? And it was interesting. What I realized was that for me right now, it wasn't actually about managing less currently. There weren't like other things that I was like, oh, I really need him to take this on. It was about, I realized that I hadn't been taking any time to myself, just to myself. Mm-hmm. I was either watching Sienna on my own, or I was in family time or time with Sunny. And we were watching her together. And so that was interesting to see. And so we decided one night a week that he would put her to bed and do kind of everything. And I would fully like take that evening off. And then we'll do the same for him as well, right? That he has a full evening. But it was just interesting to write it all out and go, okay, there's not actually anything I feel super called to kind of hand off at this moment. But the other thing we did was we decided that weekly we would touch base and talk about, you know, what's working, what's not working in that regard. And is there anything that needs to shift? Because especially for the moms and, you know, listening, things are changing a lot, especially when you have young babies, right? So that I think is a good practice that we're putting into place. But in general, I think that tip of each person, if you are in a partnership, in the household, having certain things you own, that's been huge for us over the years. Like Sunny handles the cars, I don't do almost anything with the cars. I book our travel, we have certain areas that we both get to own. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great because there's so much frustration that happens with people. I just wish he would book our travel. I would just, and people don't sit down and just talk about these things. And when you talk about them, it just clears out so much, because so much of the breakdowns are emotional breakdowns, as you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That was huge too. I mean, you did a VIP day with us and we were visiting you. Gigi gave us all for Christmas, all of her kids' VIP days, coaching days with her last year. And so Sunny and I finally used ours. And that was huge because so much, that's the other thing I realized this week when I came home, I felt so much more spaciousness, but nothing had changed in terms of what I was doing. And I realized like, wow, so much of it was the emotional buildup, some things that we weren't on the same page about, or, just, things that had been building up. And when we cleared that out, you supported us to do that in our coaching day. Things felt very different. I felt so much lighter. I didn't feel so stressed. So much of it, like you're saying, is the emotional side as well.
Yeah. And like you said, we got through what it would have taken hundreds of hours between the two of you. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what we did in 4 hours was insane. Because we had so many conversations on our own and been trying to navigate some of the stuff for months, as far as being new parents and just all the different pieces that came in with that. And we just were able to clear so much out. And of course, we're still implementing. It's going to take us a while to implement everything that you shared or helped us with. But it was hugely powerful. So thank you again for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And I think so the emotional side is one part sometimes of the control or the, perfectionism, the trying to hold it all together. And the other one, like you said before, is just if you're tired or dysregulated, that often we overreact by trying to, I don't know if that's true for everyone, but it is true for me. And it sounds like for you, by trying to sort of put order to our space or something, or to our everything we need to do.
Yeah.
And that can come out as like control or perfectionism.
Yeah. And the other one I had mentioned to you, which is sometimes I see perfectionism happens because people aren't good at things, and so they overcompensate for them. So areas where, I remember a client talking like she's doing spreadsheets and all these different things, and I think it's not really her wheelhouse. And so she becomes overly controlling about that because for her it's difficult. And so she makes it, and I do that sometimes. I see that, if it's an area that I don't understand and I'm trying to hold it all together. So that's another one where if you can in your business, let's say, is find people who are good at those things that you are not good at and turn them over to them, just like you're doing in your home, right? Yeah. Is look at those areas of where does someone excel and really give them those opportunities to excel in that area, right? And take that off your plate.
It's interesting, as you were talking, I was just thinking about how it's a good reminder for me, because although I am very organized and very structured, and that's a skill set I've developed, I often think that, and I'd kind of forgotten this, that a lot of that developed out of not really being that way when I was young, naturally. I was maybe even the opposite a little bit, like messy and just kind of all over the place with some things. And I developed this, it's like I overcompensated. I went the other way and was like, I need to learn to sort of hold all these things together, or to structure, or to whatever. And so it's an interesting reminder for me that like, some of this isn't actually truly naturally how I am. And I'll give the example of this. I often think about my sister, Brianna, who is an amazing organizer. And for her, we talk about aliveness. For her, I feel like it's fun. So natural and fun and it brings her alive. And I'm always like, wow, because for me, it's not actually like that. I am in our World Changer quiz. For those of you who don't know, we have a free quiz called the World Changer Quiz. And you can take it at worldchangerquiz.com. But we talk about visionaries, which you are, and then connectors, which I am, and then arrangers, which I would say Brianna probably is. And an arranger is more the systems and structures person. And so you and I both have learned a lot of arranger skills, but you're more the visionary and I'm actually more the people person and the connector. But often I relate to myself as an arranger. And I'm just like remembering that, like, oh yeah, that's not actually, the distinction is what brings you alive. And that's not actually what brings me alive. And so it's great for me to sort of reconnect to that like, oh, I can do some of the arranging. I don't mind that, but it's not my highest aliveness. And if I try to do too much of it, I put myself into this energy that's just not the best energy for me. Sunny had a beautiful, I'll just kind of maybe start to close on this, which is, I asked him the other day, like, we were talking about vision for something. And he was like, he just saw painted this whole picture of like coming home and I'm walking down the stairs holding our, daughter, and I'm super relaxed and I'm like in my energy and, flowing, and just, he painted this whole picture that I was like, oh my God, like that's what he really wants. I don't remember how it all came up. We were maybe talking about all the things around the house, because he's always like, just let it be a little messy. And I'm like, well, I don't think you'd actually want that. Right. But then I realized, like, it's not about whether the place is messy or not, or everything's done or not. It's like what he wants more than anything is for me to be relaxed,
Absolutely.
For me to be in my energy. And I'm always orienting to everything needs to look good. Done.
Yeah.
No, it's the energy. It's like I don't know, be done. I don't know how to describe it. Like, just
well, I know you always are trying to get to the end of your list. Yeah,
I'm always trying to get to the end of
my list. Yeah.
Never happens.
Which the secret they didn't tell you. The list never ends.
I get to the end of it all the time for like,
but you're gonna have a whole new list.
Then there's another list.
You should just relax around that one, I'll tell you.
Oh my gosh, yes. But I just thought that was such a beautiful vision that he shared. And I think it's so true in partnerships that a lot of times, again, this is not always true that it's the woman and the man. Sometimes the roles are reversed or what have you. But a lot of times we do see that the woman gets into this kind of energy of perfectionism or of trying to hold it all together or whatever that might be. And I think ultimately, though, our partners want us to be happy, relaxed, and flow. Like, they want quality time. Our kids too, right? Like, for people who have kids that are a little bit older.
Yeah, it's a tough one because women have gone into business, and business brings a certain kind of energy, to put, but you can balance that out too. But you're right on. Your partner wants you to be happy and fulfilled and enjoying yourself. And, you can still be doing business, but from a place of relaxation, which
it's
takes
a shift
design.
In the orientation.
Yeah. It's a shift in the orientation, and it is a design thing. Has
Tell
to be
me what
designed.
you mean by that.
Well, it's just like when you guys were young, the design that we put into place is what made things work. Otherwise they wouldn't have worked. Two little kids, like I've been watching my grandchildren, and two parents working, and, no additional support once in a while. They have a nanny come in or whatever. And just that, to me, there's a design breakdown to be able to manage all that and manage it so it really works for everybody.
Yeah. So that's for people who are working. You were saying, like, what's the distinction there for them to design it so that they can go
whatever they
that energy?
And that the women want to, I think, also let go and enjoy and feel relaxed and feel more feminine. Of course they do,
Yeah.
Some women would say no, or I feel very feminine, but in their energy, they're not feminine. There's too much structure to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's like the secret longing of so many women.
Yeah, exactly.
Is to feel, even if you don't call it feminine, to feel more relaxed, to feel more in flow, to feel like they can let go,
Yeah.
And it feels like, and again, I'm speaking from the inside of it again, even though I've learned this lesson before, but I'll learn it quickly this time because I've done it once, but it feels like it's not possible when you're in it. It feels like there's no way, or if you do that again, everything's going to fall apart, or something's going to, I don't know what it is, right? But the truth is, again, that shift in orientation, it's like if you start from that place, then everything else flows easier.
Start from what place? What place?
From that place of centered in yourself, more relaxed.
Then what do you want? Your partner wants that, but what do you want? Because again, what we want, if we're super clear about that, there's absolutely a way to co-create that with your partner. In that feeling, you've seen me do that with you several times where, you can't do this or it's too much pressure. And then I say, yes, you can. It's in your mind.
Remind me what you mean by that.
So even like when you were feeling so much pressure and I told you take 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
You were like, no way I can take 3. I said, absolutely, you can take 3 weeks off. Yeah, you're going to have to organize a few things and do a few things, but maybe you have to take a couple of calls, things, but mostly you'll take that time off. There is a way, but again, we're too controlling in ourselves to see that life wants us to flow. Yeah. There is a flow to life. And that's when you start to design that flow around what you want and what your relationship wants, what your partnership wants, instead of compartmentalizing. Because this is the thing that we get into from being in business. It has to be structured. I go home, I do this. There is an energy flow that can happen through your life that'll get you what you want. Doesn't mean you won't be pressured sometimes. Doesn't mean things won't be working, but you'll be in the right, would you say, orientation point to where you will still gain energy from it.
Yeah, the image that comes to me, I can't remember where I heard this originally, but it's a great reminder too, is like a leaf in the river. It's like, are you swimming against the current or are you going with the current? And I think what you're sharing is so beautiful in terms of like, there is a flow that wants to happen through you, with you, around you. But if you're constantly trying to manage it all, hold it all together, whatever, there's no room for that. And that's, I think truly this is, when I think about with you, this is one of your great gifts and natural, I don't know if it's a natural gift or something you've, cultivated or both. But it's one of the things I'm always trying to learn from you because, and I've learned so much, but there's always more, is that. And so many people, I guess, just in our modern ways of living and culture and technology and everything else, it's really like a lost art.
It is lost art. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. That's why I still want to do my Arts of a Woman training. Yeah, about that. Yeah. So
absolutely. Oh my gosh, we could talk forever on this topic. I feel like I just got a coaching session, so thank you. Great topic, and hopefully you all enjoyed it, took something away from it. Anything else you want to share, Gigi, or is that
no, that feels complete. Yeah,
please rate the podcast on whatever platform you listen. That's super helpful for us. Share this episode with someone you think could get value from it, and have a beautiful start to your holiday season.
Yeah, for those of you who do Thanksgiving, right? So happy holidays and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.